Hello and welcome to Crazy Talk Analytics. My name is Will, and in this video we're going to be continuing our playthrough of chip theory games, The Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, using my most unofficial simulator that I'm referring to as Excel Scrolls. So again, I cannot emphasize enough that this is unofficial, and I am in no way, shape, or form affiliated with chip theory games or Bethesda. I do apologize if that disclaimer gets old in all the videos. I will try to keep this portion pretty quick. I want to mention too, though, that, and I totally understand this because this was a concern I had when I started doing the recordings, is that the audio might not be that loud. I'll try to speak up, but I can only speak up to a certain degree. I did check my computer's microphone setting is max, and I removed sort of that diffuser from I'm using an external USB microphone. I did remove that, and I'm trying some repositioning. If this still doesn't work, then I'll try a couple of other things. Maybe use an alternative headset, but I do want to use this USB external mic to the extent possible. I just went ahead and moved it up a little bit closer. Let's see if that makes a difference. I also want to mention that as we're following this nut, as you see here, we're not doing a Redguard Templar, but we are doing a Templar, just a Breton Templar, that we're following their adventure through the Black Marsh for the Fighters Guild. I had already attempted day 2, which is where we left off at the end of day 1. I did do an attempt at that yesterday, but I ran into some technical difficulties when I tried to use a card flip button to flip a unit. So essentially, if I was going to flip a unit, then there's the button that I'm going to flip. If I'm going to flip a card, I flip using this button, and if I try to flip an enemy chip with the flip card button, it doesn't quite work. It breaks my code. So I had to essentially reinitiate my program. It's not a huge deal. We're just on page 1. Unfortunately, you guys don't have to suffer through that. However, I do need to make sure I address this issue, and the proper way to address something like this would be to go through and fix the code. Now, I will never claim right now that this code is final or perfect. It's what I refer to as a minimally viable product to sort of get the job done. It will hopefully work, hopefully, for the entire playthrough. I have done quite a bit of playing using the code as is. I know where I can make a lot of improvements, where I need to clean it up. But let me go ahead and make a fix so that this doesn't happen anymore and interrupt any future playthroughs. So if you bear with me for a second. Actually, on second thought, I am not going to implement that fix. I was going to be a bit of a smartass and essentially just make this flip card button really huge and red so that it draws my attention. But what I had to do to sort of put myself back to the state I was at the end of the last video was I had to actually go through my entire common and legendary decks to find the 3 cards that were essentially drawn for the day 1 town encounter, and then I had to remove those from the deck and then reshuffle. As it happened, the legendary one was like the last legendary card that I needed was 4th or 5th from the end of the deck. It was a tedious process. I'm not going to do that right now, but when I do get a chance, maybe the next playthrough, you'll see some changes that will hopefully help mitigate the technical issues. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and head to our table. So as I mentioned, the last day we ended off at day 1, and hopefully our day tracker is there. Sure it is. And I was debating where I wanted to go, right? So we have, let me just hide this. So we have this objective for the Fighters Guild where we need to head to Alten Corimont to meet with a point of contact. Essentially, that's going to continue our quest. And it's recommended that you do that by day 3. So we're on day 2, and I did confirm that we ended off on day 1, but we're on day 2 now. We would trigger any start of day events, but there aren't any, so we don't have to worry about that. But now it's sunny, so we have a base overland movement of 3, and we need to consider where to go. As usual, I can't speak. So where I left off on the last video was I was debating either a conflict or an unstable encounter. And the unstable encounter is still kind of appealing, but what I think I'm going to do instead is actually go straight to Alten Corimont, which is not what I originally intended. I think this is a good idea because I really don't have a lot of dice to use, especially with my character only having 1 combat die, but if I go to Alten Corimont, then I get the 1 XP. That will make my enemy pool a little bit higher, so that might make my encounter, my next actual battle encounter, a little bit more difficult. But hopefully it'll be manageable, the enemies will be spaced apart, plus I have a side quest which might allow me to recruit one of the enemies if I have enough tenacity. So who knows, I might even get an item that helps me to get tenacity so that I can accomplish that side quest. So I'm going to go ahead and move 3 spaces for overland movement, which I can do, and go to Alten Corimont. And then I'm going to go and open my character sheet and set up the town. I'll be right back. So here we are in Alten Corimont, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correct. This flavor text probably a little easier to read, but I'm still not going to risk it here. I will read the open contract town effect. As a free town action, an adventurer may discard an active side quest to gain 1 item from the shop. I do have a side quest, but that side quest is going to give me 2 bonus HP, which to me is really valuable because that will allow me to improve my character without incurring the additional XP for the party XP that will make my enemy pool higher. So I do like that. It also lets me sort of convert an enemy, pulling them over to my side if I can pull it off. So it could be a useful town effect if you want to implement that, to take that action, but I don't think I want to do that here. We get 3 common items and 3 legendary items in the shop, and there are 3 trainers. So we have all of the warrior, mage, and thief constellation, so we'll draw here. So we get acrobatic, destruction staff, and shadow. I do have level 1 dice, I believe, for all of those. I think light armor is the only one that really shouldn't be in here, so I kind of penalize myself when I draw that. And let's go ahead and take we're going to use the dex here. So this time the flip card button is appropriate, but we don't actually use that for drawing items. So 3 common items. We get Pebble Pal, Silver Darts, and Glyph of Weakening. Now let's take our legendary items. I think that's what I look forward to the most. Alright, so let's evaluate. We have Pebble Pal. You may place 1 HP chip on this pet to deal 1 damage to an enemy in sight. You may not place more than 1 HP on this pet at the same time. Once there are 5 HP chips on this pet, discarded. I was looking at this earlier when I was doing a playthrough, and what I don't understand about this card, and I don't know if this is something that has been reworded in the final distribution, if this has been addressed anywhere else, if anyone else has had this concern, it does say you may not place more than 1 HP on this pet at the same time. It doesn't say same turn. So does that mean that you're essentially evaluating that instance of damage 1 at a time? So in which case, if an enemy has 1 defense, that you can never get through that defense because you're only dealing 1 damage, which is negated. But also, I believe that the defense is only good to negate damage that 1 time per turn. So I think that wouldn't be the case here, but I just don't know what the reasoning is as to why you can only place 1 HP on this at a time. I don't know if there's any instance in which that would matter. Let's go ahead and put him back. Silver Darts. You may discard any number of items from your ready slots, including this one. For each item discarded, deal 1 damage to an enemy within 3 hexes. If this item is one of the items discarded, all discarded items deal 2 additional damages. That seems actually kind of nice. It's a high cost, but you might need that to actually, to clear a battle. It's appealing by its own right. Glyph of Weakening. Enchant a level 5 or level 10 enemy in play. The enchanted enemy combat and defense stats are both reduced by 1. Discard this effect when the enemy is defeated or at the end of the battle. So that's kind of nice too, combat and defense stats. So it's a different effect than the Silver Darts, right? The Silver Darts, that damage could be negated by defense. Also, you're limited to that range, essentially. But this is just going to actively reduce that. So that enemy for the whole battle. So if that enemy's going to hang around a bit, this might make it easier to chip through their defenses or take less damage from them. So if I had to pick between these three common, I would probably pick Glyph of Weakening. Sea Giant Gloves. Already sounds appealing. 2 Tenacity. Remove a status die from your cooldown track and heal for 2 HP. I do like that. I like anything that's going to give me healing for my character. This is not armor. It is clothing. That's essentially a class ability, which means you can only use it once per turn, because that's essentially the rule for class abilities. If it was an interrupt or I forget the word, enduring, then you'd be alright to use it multiple times. Try Restoration Potion. Expend. You may trigger any one of your non-enduring class abilities without spending Tenacity. Alright. It's not bad either. And Many-Hued Bird Feather. After any adventure rolls speech skill dice, you may gain 1 light fatigue to increase the value of any one of their speech dice. If you're a bard, you can instead add 1 to the value. This is basically something that works well with speech dice. I don't have that. I don't know if I intend to get that necessarily, as I'm only going to be doing a session 1 playthrough. I do like this. It's an alternative use for the Tenacity, but what I'd like to check first before committing to something like this is what was my level 2, not my level 2, but my 2 Tenacity class abilities that I would be essentially not using to use this one. Alright, so if I compare this effect, which is 2 Tenacity, remove a status die, and heal for 2, to something like Sacred Ground, which is remove all status die, and there's no healing, but that's all status die. You're not necessarily going to always have that many status die on you, I would imagine. I mean, who's to say how it's going to play out? I like the utility here. I also have, of course, the Restoring Spirit, but with the fact that these abilities can only be used once per turn, maybe it is nice to have options. So I do see some benefit in the Sea Giant Gloves, and they also just kind of sound cool. So I don't think I want any of these dice, though Destruction Staff is kind of appealing. I have 3 magic and I don't have a lot of stuff to spend on it, so that might be good too, and it might pair well with the healing. Let's take a look. We don't need an inn now. I don't want to do another quest board. I'm not going to do the guild kiosk. So the town square action, which again you can only trigger once per town visit, per town encounter. Discard a common item to train any thief type skill line from the trainer bag. I don't want to do that. I don't want to get rid of my maul. So I think what I'm going to do, I have 2 town actions. I think I am going to take the Sea Giant Gloves. I'm going to build up my Breton. Make her, hold on a second. Make my Breton. I'm not sure if it's him or her. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't had a chance to evaluate. I only have limited access to the character cards. I'm fine with it. But I want to make the Breton a little bit buffier, get some items. This isn't anything that has an overtax. I can't benefit from the racial ability, but I still think that's what I want. And then I think I'll try Restoration Potion. I think I'm going to go all in, because this might actually give me some answers when I'm in battle, because I do have some nice abilities. So I'm going to basically spend my 2 actions here on this. And I apologize. One of the things, again, I need to do, probably pause and evaluate. I went straight into my town actions, but when you hit a town and you have a quest that basically gets resolved in that town, I think you're supposed to do that first. Let me just confirm. So as you can hopefully see here, check the town effect, we did that. Reveal trainer and shop, we did that. But before I actually purchased from the shop, as I did, we're supposed to complete the side quests. Complete side quest, town actions. I guess this doesn't specifically address guild quest, but I would do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and address it now. Actually, I think I'm good, because by the way this is actually worded is that you need to complete a town encounter. So after I've purchased those items, the town encounter is essentially complete. And this does give me the 1 XP, which will be added to my party experience, and that will make my enemy pool a little bit more difficult. And then I'll move on to the next quest step. So let me add the 1 XP up here and take that here. So I'm not in my reward phase yet, but the reward phase will happen before the Activate Province and before the Rest and Recovery. But before we do the reward, let's take a look at the next quest step. Alright, so be prepared for some bad reading. You arrive at the ship's hold inn and spot a Naga Argonian in the corner, nursing an ale. He beckons you over. Is this all the guild could spare? He growls. It seems you people have failed to understand exactly what is at stake here. When you inquire about Xeric, he shifts, exposing his discomfort. Got caught up with some Briarheart magic in Skyrim, he says. Angered a Jarl, who sent him to the Rose for some rest and relaxation. He let out a devious giggle. Paying a hefty fee for the Blackguards to keep him there. Of course, problem is Xeric seems to have gotten the attention of someone else. They'll likely be on your tail, so make sure you get to the prison before they can set an ambush. He gestures over to a trunk, no doubt filled with treasures. Not for you, he snaps, reading your intentions. You will need to rally some additional personnel to help out with this. So head to, I think this is Rock Grove, just outside of Stone Wastes. There are some mercenaries there who will help you if paid. After the contact leaves, you take a look at the chest, which seems to call to you with an almost seductive air. Surely taking a treasure for yourself wouldn't cause too much of a stir. Okay, we got a little bit more reading here. So the quest starts to develop. We have some special setup instructions here. Basically, I'm going to try to summarize this a little bit, right? It is difficult to read. We're going to place NPC tokens in these towns, Lowain and Root Whisper Village. They represent the mysterious pursuers who are following you. I need to set aside 5 minus the party size, which for me would be 5 minus 1 or 4 of the following level 5 enemies. These are going to represent the sellswords that I can recruit. It's an Argonian Marauder, High Elf Marauder, Dark Elf Marauder, and Nord Marauder. I don't have the Dark Elf Marauder, so I'll show the Dark Elf level 1 side, and basically, if it comes down to where I can recruit that, then I'll worry about it at the time. But these are the sellswords. They can become companions for the final quest step, and then draw and set aside a number of legendary items equal to the sellswords. So in this case, it would be 4 legendary items. And essentially what happens is when you get to the town, hold on one second. Alright, I just wanted to reread and summarize. So basically, the quest objective is to go to Blackguard's prison, and then go on to C14, which will provide me another setup. However, alternatively, I can head over to Stone Wastes and initiate I believe they call it, I think it's a free town action. I'll clarify that later. Yeah, a free group town action, meaning the whole group has to agree to this. And essentially what it is you can recruit the number of sellswords equal to the number of legendary items you have remaining in this chest. So we're going to populate this chest with 4 items, and during my rest and recovery phase, each day I'll have the ability to take an item from that chest, and I'll also have the ability or the option to take one of my legendary items and put it in the chest as well. The idea is, as long as I have some items in that chest, when I reach Stone Wastes, I can use one item to recruit one of the companions, essentially. So if I have 4 items, I can get all 4 companions. Of course, I don't have the Dark Elf level 5. Like I mentioned, though, we'll worry about that when we get there. If that happens, I might just take the item to offset it. However, while I'm making my way to Black Rose Prison with this chest, these mysterious pursuers, who start off again in those cities that I mentioned, or those towns that I mentioned, will be moving however much the activate province effect step allows them to move towards the party. And if they basically get to the party, so essentially if I start a day where we're occupying the same hex, or if I move into a hex where they are, then that triggers this following battle. The conditions are here. It's pretty clear, pretty easy to read. So if this happens, and it most likely will happen, then we'll refer to these rules for battle setup. I think that basically summarizes this. There's 0 XP for this, so essentially your I guess your reward is you're getting the companions, or you're getting the items, possibly, if you take them. There are situations which I think if you recruit the companions, you make it there, then I believe that dismisses the NPCs. Also, when you trigger activate NPC battle, essentially when that condition is met, the other NPC stop. It's, I think, to prevent it from being overwhelming, so that you're not being converged with back-to-back sort of quest battles as dictated by this. So I've gone ahead, I'm up here in Alten Corimont, and I've placed the NPC trackers here in the positions specified. So I need to make it down here to Black Rose Prison, or if I want to, I can stop by Stone Wastes to get the companions to enlist their aid. And while I'm doing that, these guys are going to be progressing towards my position, trying to initiate that battle. Now we don't have the weather gauge yet, so this is basically, we've done the setup. Now we're going to go into the activate province effect. But before we do that, we do have our reward phase, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we can get for a reward. Alright, I think I'm going to keep this relatively easy and just go for combat dice. Hopefully my health is high enough, so hopefully that combat die helps. And yes, I'm going to probably have, well, let me close this map out. Probably going to have not a true reflection of the available dice here because I reset the program. So just know, these might be double accounted for. I'll maybe clear that up in a later, when I have time later off camera. So we can go ahead and close that. And now we should be able to move on to the activate province. Oh, I do need to clear my XP and activate province step. So let's draw our peaceful encounter. Future imperfect, that doesn't really matter so much. It says flip card here. So it looks like we're going to rainy, which it's not terrible. I mean, it's not, at least it's not flooding. And then we are going to flip the card. And I got an error because I probably pushed the wrong button. So excuse me for a moment. Alright, I was able to avoid disaster. The reason for the error there was because I probably had selected the region map instead and tried to flip that. So as I mentioned before, the best way to address this is just really to address it in code to account for the exceptions and errors, etc. So I'm in the peaceful select. I'm going to go ahead and cycle that. But I think if I just take a moment, do what I did to work around when these errors happen, I can address them and not disrupt the code. So I call that a success. Upon closer examination, it was this token I tried to flip and not the map, hence why it was gone. But again, we've cleared that. Apologize for that little inconvenience. I don't mind sharing. Let me know if you don't want me to show any addressing the technical issues and you just want a complete fix off screen, which I did do, but I just wanted to mention, be upfront about what's going on behind the scenes. So the card is back in there, and now we have to essentially alright, so that's the activate province step, right? So we're on rainy, which means NPCs got to move 3 spaces, so I need to figure out how they move. I think it's a no-brainer on this one. This guy moves 3 towards me. It would have been 4 if it was sunny and 1 if it was flooded. And then this guy, I'm just going to move him 3 up there. So pretty straight shot for the most part. So that concludes the activate province effect. And now I'm on my rest and recovery, so I don't actually get to move yet until my next day. But I don't think I have anything for rest and recovery. This does remind me I forgot to populate the trunk, because part of the rest and recovery step is I can go ahead and take some items from that trunk. So bear with me one more moment. I know I'm not doing a great job, right? I said I was going to try to remain calm and pause and focus. Okay, I've got my legendary selected. So we have a Bow of the Deadlands. That is making me wish I had a bow skill. Ooh, a fancy looking cuirass there. There is a Breton jack, which I wouldn't mind getting, but I don't know if that's legendary or common. And a signet of the worm. So these aren't really like for my taking right now. These are in the cache, or the chest, if you will. I think the Blackguard trunk is what it's called. But let's take a quick look, because I can claim one right now if I want. And I don't have to worry about the fact that I don't have the Dark Elf Marauder, which reminds me, I need to draw those guys too. So what I do for that is, essentially I just have to go through the bag, right? This is what you would do until you drew those out. Of course, you can look in the bag and grab them directly. I don't have that liberty. I just have to sort of draw accordingly. So that's not one. I don't believe... Okay, so it is a High Elf Marauder that I need. Let me just make sure this is good on both sides. Yep. Alright, so that one I don't want. That one's good. That one's not good. Not Khajiit. I think it's Argonian, Dark, and Nord. There's a Breton, there's a Crocodile, Wood Elf, Orc, Argonian. So there's the Argonian. We're good there. Red Guard, Wisp Mother, Bear, Skeleton. There's a Nord Bandit, the Nord Marauder, High Elf. High Elf might be my Dark Elf. Yep, there it is. Alright, so I'll put that one on the one side, and what I'm going to do here, I do have code to sort of make this part a little bit faster. Let me just, it's not going to matter too much with these, but let me just set these aside. And essentially I'm going to take these guys and slide them over, and this code should make quick work of all those other enemy chips that were kind of hanging about. So I'm going to just essentially kind of put these guys together and group them, and I'll worry about them later. So the House Hexos Cuirass. After an enemy engages you, gain 1 tenacity. I like that. I like that a lot. Overtax. After an enemy engages you, remove 1 HP from each adjacent enemy and place them under your adventurer may exceed health stat. Why would I not take this from the chest, especially if I know I'm not going to get one of these companions? I almost don't know if it's worth it to look at this other stuff. Discard this item before rolling. During an engage, all damage dealt to your target. This engage is also dealt to all other targetable enemies. That's nice too. The question is, anything that I take now, right? Short-term benefits. I get an item that I can use, possibly, in all of these battles to come. But what I lose out on is the companions that will probably really help me in that final battle. Also, having them over here kind of removes them from any encounter, any combat encounter that I happen to come across. File of Daedric Whispers. Expend. Trigger any adventurer's race ability as if it were your own. This item may be used at any time corresponding to the race ability you choose to activate. This does not count as using your race ability for this battle. It's not bad. I definitely prefer this. You know, I'm gonna take this. So part of my rest and recovery, I am gonna steal an item from the chest. Yeah, I'm that type of person. I apologize. So I have the ability to go ahead and redo this video, but if I keep doing that, I'll never make any progress. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna try to only redo videos if I have to for technical issues. If they go a little long, I do apologize up front, but hopefully I'll get better if you stick with me. So I'm going to pause, clean these up, move them off to the side. You don't need to see me resize these cards. Alright, I basically got them where I want them, but I'm going to increase this bow in case anybody does want to read that. I'll pause for myself here real quick and you can take it in. It is a pretty sweet looking bow. Like, I'd grab it for the looks if nothing else. The fact that it has the overtax ability that potentially salvages that weapon is kind of appealing also. It is something that I might want to steal if I can. We'll see. I might want to acquire it if I can. So we're at the right XP count. We're at the right day count, right? Because we haven't actually finished day 2 yet. So we have nothing else for our rest and recovery. We have no dice to recover. We haven't had a battle yet. We have no fatigue dice. Our tenacity is still currently 0, and we've cleared our XP. So I think this concludes the day. These NPC tokens have not made it to us, and we've set our weather gauge. So a little longer than I wanted. I do apologize. I'll pick up on day 3, and hopefully we'll see some excitement, probably because we are in rainy. I was hoping to put it all in one video, but I think this is a good breaking point. So I'll probably head over to this unstable and then see how that treats us. I don't want to do town after town, and I'm not really looking for a peaceful encounter right now. I want to sort of rile things up a little bit and maybe get the tenacity that this gives us. So if this gives us a peaceful, that's great. We get the 2 tenacity afterwards, which may help out with our side quest. So let me know what you think. Again, I'll continue playing. Hopefully, maybe I can get another part of this day 3 out today. If not, it'll be tomorrow. But I'm hoping for today. Thank you. Thank you for watching as always. Always appreciated. Have a wonderful day.